Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to do a ride evaluation of the Campagnolo Record 12-speed mechanical group set. Now, I happen to believe that this is the best value in 12-speed performance group sets currently on the market. Now, Shimano and SRAM recently did an announcement that had the effect of a shots fired to the cycling world, where they announced that their top-tier 12-speed group sets were not going to be available for mechanical, only for electronic shifting. So with that announcement, rightly or wrongly, it kind of reinforces the idea that there's been a little bit of a love-hate relationship between seasoned cyclists and the cycling industry, where we often feel like there's forced, unnecessary innovation. Now, I'm not against innovation, especially things that make our cycling experience better. But oftentimes we get a memo from the cycling industry that, hey, guys, we're going in this direction and this is the way how it's going to be. And I'll give you three that are on my hit list. Tubeless for road, disc brakes for road, hidden cables everywhere. What's on your hit list? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, I'm really excited about doing this evaluation with 12-speed group sets because here's what's happened in the industry since I've been around. 7 and 8 speed shifting were both around for a really long time. 9 speed was a wisp. I mean, it was gone so quick, it didn't even have an opportunity to unpack its bags. 10 speed stayed around for a long time. 11 speed also stayed around for a long time and is still very relevant and will continue to be so. 12 speed, I think, is also going to be one of those things that is going to stay around for a long time because I think that the industry has finally gotten to the point where they're like, we think we're pretty good at 12. We can park it here for a little while. So this is going to be a typical group set evaluation where I'll start by talking about the hoods, the ergonomic feel, how simple and easy is it for me to adapt into a position where I can get to my shifters and also be able to brake. I'm also going to talk about the ease of the use of the gears, whether I'm climbing, whether I'm doing rollers and I'm going back and forth between the small and big chainring and using the whole spectrum of the cassette in the rear. Also being able to find comfortable gearing with this setup, being able to do fast group rides on flats. I'm also going to talk about the performance of the shifting. How fast does it shift? How quick does it shift? And how does it perform under load? And of course, being campy, I've got to talk about that all-important blink factor. And last but not least, we're going to talk about who is this group set made for. Every once in a while, I'll come across a fellow cyclist who's rocking Campagnolo. And we both kind of like look at each other and we do that knowing nod. Yeah, because we kind of like feel like we've discovered something that the rest of the world hasn't really caught on to. So the love for Campi is real. Tutto Campagnolo. All right, let's go. All right, let's get into this by talking about the heart of the system, which to me is the shift brake lever. The awesome thing is that the 12-speed design is an evolution over the 11-speed design, whereas the 11-speed design was a complete revolution over the 10-speed design. This is a 10-speed design, which is narrower. Also, the rise for the hand placement is a lot shorter, but I never had any issues with this, being able to get my hands into a comfortable and secure position to be able to access my brakes and also my shifting. But on the 12-speed design, they did a little bit more of a natural contour to follow the shape of a person's hand, which is really important, especially if you're the type of rider that likes to ride in the hoods with your hands locked in, but also being able to have that 90-degree angle for aerodynamics. But you want to be able to make sure that your hands are on a very stable and a very comfortable platform. This does that really well. Also, I have absolutely no issues from this position being able to access my braking and being able to access my shifting. The feel of the material is very nice. I mean, it's rubber, right? But it has a very high quality where they thought out the design where this portion where you're going to be using it to support and brace your body is very firm, whereas this portion right here is a little bit squishier to give your hand a little bit of relief, make sure you're not cutting off any circulation or digging into any of the nerves in the palm of your hands. The other awesome thing is the ability to be able to make adjustments depending on the size of a person's hands. We have this button right here, which is really a quick release, where if I press it in this direction, it opens up the brake lever completely. Where if I'm dealing in a situation where I have rim brakes or something like that, I'll be able to easily take the wheel out of the frame, but put it back into the normal position. If I'm a cyclist who has shorter hands, what I'll do is I'll just press the button in the other direction, and what it does is it brings the lever closer to the bar for cyclists who have shorter hands. Awesome. Let's put it back into normal position. The other thing is the system's ability for shifting. On my right shift lever, if I wanted to make my gears harder, I hit this button, which means that I'm sending my rear derailleur outboard. And if I want to make my gears easier, I hit this bladed lever, which means that I'm bringing my rear derailleur inboard. The amazing feature for me with Campagnolo is the ability to dump multiple gears at a time. With Record and Super Record, if I want to drop 5 gears at a time, I do it with one sweep of the lever, and I've just shifted down 5 gears. And if I wanted to do the same thing in the opposite direction, I sweep this lever inwards, and I brought 3 gears in the other direction. No other system has the ability to be able to make multiple dumps of the cassette at a time. So those are just some of the features that actually makes this a winning system for me. All right, if the brifters are the heart of the system, then the crankset bottom bracket interface to me are the guts of the system. This is my Bianchi Pinella, which is a steel frame, and the bottom bracket interface on it is a BSA or English threaded. On the Prestige, we have something called a BB386. It's a press fit asymmetrical system. The awesome thing about Campagnolo's engineering is that I can slide this H11 crankset off of the Prestige, slide it on to the Pinella without having to do any modifications. And that's because Campagnolo has engineered all of their bottom bracket, the cups, the interface systems with the same internal diameter, making it compatible with all ultra torque cranksets. All right, now we're going to talk about the performance of the system, meaning the ease of the use of the gears. And the 2 examples that I'm going to give you are of me riding along on rollers and going back and forth between a big and small chainring, and also going through the entire gamut of gears. So on that, I had absolutely no trouble being able to control my cadence on varying terrains, different gradients of climbs, and being able to carry the speed and keep up with the group and do basically what I wanted to do, which is to be able to control my performance and be able to get the bike moving along at the rate that I wanted it to move. The other example is of me doing a fast group ride with this system where a 5034 1129 12-speed cassette in the back, I never felt like I was missing a gear like I felt when I was using the SRAM rival AXS 12-speed system. I was able to control my cadence, being able to manage my speed, and had absolutely no issues being able to keep up with a fast group ride using the Campagnolo gearing system. It just worked flawlessly. All right, we're back to visiting one of our favorite websites, bikecount.com, so that we can see how our cadence is affected by speed and selected gear ratios. The values we have entered in today are that our rim size is 700C, our tire size is 30 millimeter, the chain rings are 5034, and the cassette cog is an 1129. There are 3 offerings in Campagnolo's 12-speed cassette cogs, that being 1129, 1132, and 1134. Those cassettes are identical all the way from 11 to 19, offering single space jumps between the cogs all the way up to the 17. We omit the 18 and then go to the 19. Everything above that is really only coming into play for the purposes of climbing. Because we're running a 50-tooth chainring in the front, it's going to be really easy to stay into the meat of the gears, meaning right around that 14, 15, 16, 17, to be able to properly control our speed and the pace line. But let's look at a real world example and see what happens when we're rolling along in a 50-17. We're doing 90 RPM and our speed is 21 miles an hour. By the time we shift into that 16, our speed is still going to be 21, and we've only had a 5-point drop in our cadence, which is normal and manageable. We start to get into leg busting issues when our cadence goes from like 90 to 80 RPM, meaning that 10-point jump. That's when we really start having problems. But continuing at this pace, the process of acceleration then dictates that what we're going to do is we're going to stay in this gear. We're going to spin up our cadence a little bit from 85 to 90 RPM to take it back up to 22 miles an hour. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because that's kind of like the process of acceleration when you're riding along in a pace line, and that's normal. 5-point jumps in cadence is acceptable. 10 points or greater, not so much. Now, regarding the performance of the system and its shifting, the shifting speed is remarkable. I can dump 5 gears going down at a time or upshift 3 gears at a time with one sweep or one push of a button. But also, my individual indexing is very fast. Somebody pointed out on one of my videos regarding electronic system that your system only shifts as fast as you can rotate a cadence, which kind of makes sense when you actually think about it, because when you shift, you actually don't benefit from it until you're coming around top dead center again, which is kind of true. But in terms of me being able to shift and have an immediate response for the system, this works that way. Shifting under load, I can do the crack attack, keep pedaling, stand up pedal. Excellent for guys who love to sprint or guys who like to carry a lot of momentum into a hill and then shift up at the last minute. The system is perfect for that. So that's it. That's my review of the Campagnolo Record 12-speed mechanical group set for rim brakes. I really enjoyed doing this review because it actually brought me into remembrance of a lot of the features of Campagnolo that I've enjoyed, maybe taken a little bit for granted over the years, like the incredible ergonomics, the spot-on world-class shifting, the exclusive features that I've mentioned in this video. And with a system weight of 2,160 grams, and a cost of about $1,800, I think that the Record 12 Mechanical stands poised to make an incredible first impression in your life if you've kind of like been on the fence about trying out Campagnolo. Now, at the outset, I mentioned that I was going to say who I think this group set is made for. On the one hand, I think this group set is made for cyclists like myself, seasoned cyclists who still enjoy mechanical and rim brakes. We don't want to feel like we're being forced with the sweep that the industry has of pushing everybody towards electronic shifting and hydraulic disc brakes. We want something high-end and we want to venture into 12-speed. Well, there's only one game in town. That's Campagnolo Record and Super Record Mechanical for rim brakes. Now, if you're a newer type cyclist and you're like, well, what's a Campagnolo? That's not your fault because your bike probably only came equipped with the option of Shimano or SRAM, and that's just the steering that the industry has had over the years. Some people would lead you to believe that Campagnolo is some sort of niche or obscure brand that's too expensive, too difficult to set up, or the parts are too difficult to source, and none of those three are actually true. Campagnolo has always been at the forefront of innovation in our sport. Heck, Campagnolo invented the rear derailleur. They were also at the push in our industry for 9, 10, 11, and 12 speed, and Campagnolo was the pioneer for electronic shifting for road bikes. So it may be a little bit of a bold statement for you as a newer cyclist to go in and say, hey, I want to try Campagnolo Record 12 speed, but I think it's a venture that you might actually enjoy. After all, Campagnolo doesn't wear out, it actually breaks in. All right, guys, that's it. Our aim here at the channel is always to inform, instruct, inspire. Be blessed.